Order, order. Welcome to this unique reverse select committee session on Parliament's use of evidence. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tracy Brown, the Director of Sense About Science. Our hearing today opens Evidence Week in Parliament, and we've always made a point of opening Evidence Week with questions from members of the public about evidence. Contrary to what you might hear, people care deeply about the evidence behind decisions on all matters. This reverse committee takes that a stage further. Today, parliamentarians will answer the questions and the public forms the committee. We thank the Parliamentary authorities, Post, the libraries and the staff of the committees in particular for their incredible effort to bring this unique committee together today. The hearing will be composed of 3 25-minute evidence sessions with chairs of select committees. I should say this is not a proceeding of Parliament and it's not protected by parliamentary privilege, so no slanderous comments, please. It is being live streamed on Parliament TV and you may hear me repeat that message to each panel. Our questioners here are drawn from hundreds around the UK who submitted queries to Sense About Science and to other community organisations over recent months, 3 of whom are representing questions from their members here. Can I introduce you?
Yes, I'm Katie Watts. I'm Head of Campaigns and Policy at Money Saving Expert.
I'm Rhiannon Evans. I'm Head of Communications at Mumsnet.
Hi, I'm Julie Rolnick. I'm the Strategic Partnership Lead at Shout Out UK.
Thank you. As is usual in committee hearings, we start with an expert briefing for the questioners. And we are joined by Sir Ian Diamond, National Statistician, Professor Dame Ottoline Leyser, who's the Chief Executive of the UK Research and Innovation, the funding body, and Professor Grant Hill-Cawthorne, the House of Commons Librarian. Welcome. Now I think we'll just move to the questions. Julie.
Hi, my question is there help and guidance for MPs and peers on reviewing evidence?
Which of you liked?
Yes.
Grant Hill-Cawthorne.
Yeah, shall I take that? So I'm Grant Hill-Cawthorne. I'm Managing Director of Research and Information. So I look after the House of Commons Library and Parliamentary Office of Science and Technology, which works with Sense About Science on events like this. So the House of Commons Library was created about 200 years ago for precisely that matter, to make sure that we give the right information, the right research to MPs when they need it. Obviously, when it first started, that was very much in book form, hence it being called the library. But after the Second World War, we pivoted and became a research service. So we now provide researchers and subject specialists covering more or less every area of public policy that you can think of, and statisticians and economists and lawyers. And so we're there to support MPs in all of their work. So that's answering constituent queries, writing speeches, developing policy, going through legislation, taking part in debates. So they can always draw upon our team of specialists, plus all of the online resources. So we provide databases, news access, journal access, all the kind of things that you'd expect parliamentarians to get.
Thank you. Ottoline Leyser.
Yes, so I run UK Research and Innovation, which is the main public sector funder of research and innovation. We have a number of roles in this area. Obviously, a lot of the work we support generates new understanding, new evidence, therefore, that can inform policy. But it's a huge portfolio of work going on across the UK's universities and research institutes, and indeed in businesses. So trying to ensure that parliamentarians have access in some way to all of that extraordinary range of knowledge and expertise. We provide a variety of kind of link-in opportunities. We embed active researchers from those communities in Parliament, either through our policy fellowships or through our parliamentary thematic research leads, which work in the office, the Parliamentary Office for Science and Technology, which you can see advertised here. We also fund a number of what work centres that focus on different areas like the education or health to synthesise and also plug gaps in understanding the kinds of evidence that are going to be needed to support high quality public services. And then we also run quite a lot of long-term, kind of longitudinal studies, for example, that follow people's health or people's educational attainment or whatever it is over long periods of time, and can then enhance the kind of evidence base across the very wide range of things that parliamentarians need to know in order to formulate high-quality evidence. And we're very excited about the possibilities from new technologies like AI to support the synthesis of all of that evidence in a rapid and efficient way. It's very difficult, given the breadth and depth of the information out there, to capture that quickly. And although we have wonderful experts to help us do that, we think technology can help too.
Thank you. It won't surprise you that we have lots of questions on AI from members of the public. Ian
And obviously National Statistics produces a very large amount of data on the economy, on population, on health, on crime, on many, many areas, and tries to do that in a very accessible way so that all members of the public can understand our releases. At the same time, all our data and some of the less popular data are available on our website, and we again try to make that accessible, and we welcome questions, I'll be absolutely honest, and many members of the public are not backwards in coming forwards, and that's really good news as far as we're concerned. And the final point I make about, if you like, helping people understand data, which is so incredibly important. I do believe that as a nation we really need to think carefully about how we improve the data literacy in what is now a really absolutely big data world. And we run a number of programs. Just tomorrow, as part of Evidence Week, we're running a session on statistics for parliaments and parliamentarians. I personally have done a number, but at the same time, I think we have a responsibility, all of us, to improve the data literacy of all our fellow citizens.
Thank you. Rhiannon Evans, you have a question.
Yeah, are there any gaps that worry you in the evidence that MPs have available to them?
Ottoline Leyser.
I'm thinking about that. I mean, obviously the kinds of evidence and data that MPs might want covers an enormous range. And so I would say the biggest challenge is connecting people to the data and the evidence that they need, rather than kind of big holes in the evidence space itself, particularly when the best evidence might come from a surprising direction. It might not be kind of labelled as crime prevention evidence in a big way. It might be labelled city planning or something, and yet have a much bigger impact on crime prevention than something that was labelled crime prevention. So it's that navigation of the depth and breadth of evidence and data that there is out there that I think is the challenge, and I think you've heard all of us setting out a variety of ways forward, but as I said previously, there are new tools coming on stream, which is great, and I also completely endorse Ian's comment that we need everybody to kind of step up to the plate a bit on their ability to synthesize and understand particularly those kinds of quantitative data, which are so important in formulating high-quality policy.
And I'd have to say that it's an obvious statement, but society and the economy is changing all the time, and I think we need to keep a real laser focus on those changes so as to make sure that all the time we are managing to recognise the change and to identify evidence that is needed. Let me just give you one example. In the last few years, we've had quite the most unprecedented decline in childbearing in this country. I never thought I would ever see the kind of childbearing decline that we've had. I cannot open newspapers and other commentators telling me what the magic bullet of the reason is. I don't believe there is a magic bullet here, but that's why UKRI with Ottoline and ourselves, we do keep really close together, because I do think the very best social researchers should be looking into this area. It's a new area and we need to find out what the answers are. And that's why I also think that working closely with civil society, broadly defined, is incredibly important, because we do our best, but equally others will be spotting those changes, those new evidence gaps. I got a letter recently from the RNIB pointing out some questions that we really weren't providing strong evidence on. So we're working how we can improve that evidence, and it will be, I hope, in co-creation with them. So, it really is, society's changing, the economy's changing, we need to change with it.
If you go to post.parliament.uk, on there is horizon scanning. So we very proactively horizon scan constantly to see what might be the next important issues that parliamentarians should be aware of. And then we actually proactively go out and seek that information. So we will look at from synthesising the work of UKRI, we will go out and interview policy experts, we'll talk to lobby groups, we'll talk to industry. So Post brings all that together into policy briefings. So we are constantly making sure that information is at the fingertips of parliamentarians.
Add a thing.
Thank you.
So the other really valuable place where this kind of comes together is all government departments develop areas of research interest where they feel that they don't have the information at the moment for the policies that they want to formulate, and that can both stimulate the right kinds of research going on right across the communities that we support, or just, as I say, quite often there's kind of serendipitous opportunities to bridge those evidence gaps from work that's already out there.
And I think it's really super important to recognise that no one department typically holds the answer to a really important question. Most of the important questions we should be worrying about as a nation cut across departments, and that's why those areas of research interest are so critically important, because we can look at the cut across between departments and then ask ourselves, as the government, to be fair, is absolutely doing at the moment through a mission approach.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next question now, which is Katie Watts.
Thank you. Brings me nicely onto it, actually. Often parliamentarians reference stats, facts, forecasts, usually cold, hard numbers to justify policy decisions. However, certainly MSE users feel that numbers only tell one side of the story. What do you all consider and do to consider the richer tapestry that is people's lives, their experiences, the real-world impact of policy on them? To what extent do you collect qualitative as well as quantitative research, and how do you go about building the bigger picture?
Well, I'll kick off, if I may.
Please.
We 100% couldn't do our job without the support of the public who answer our questions, whether that is individual members of the public or whether it is businesses who do so. That's the first point. The second point is we recognise that these days people are busy, and so less likely to want to spend an hour answering some interesting questions. So we need to think about how we ask questions. Part of that is through really thinking through the methodology of asking surveys, but secondly, really thinking through how we are able to find the right method to ask the right question. We use a mix of what we call quantitative methods, that's surveys as you might know them, and qualitative methods, where we're looking to really understand the life experiences of people and to be able to bring them together. I think it's incredibly important that when we do that, we really understand what is going on with people on the ground, and with working with organisations such as yourself to make sure we're identifying the right questions.
Thank you. I'm keen, we have just a short time left in this session, and Grant Hill-Cawthorne, I'm keen you to speak on the constituency perhaps element of that.
Yes, I was going to say, so on commonslibrary.parliament.uk you will find a debate pack for every major debate going through. You'll find legislative briefings. Those cover everything that we can find on those topics, so both the research evidence but also lived experience, commentators' reports, legal documents. So we bring all of that into one place, so parliamentarians do have that at their fingertips whenever they're going through. Whenever we find gaps, that is post job, so they go out, work with thematic research leads funded by UKRI, go out to other research organisations to find that qualitative and quantitative data. So that is all available, and it's available to the public. So please do go and look at our websites for that.
Thank you. Ottoline, we have just 10 seconds if you want to say something.
I agree with everything that's been said, and of course qualitative and quantitative data are not actually, there's not a clean distinction between them. A lot of those quantitative things come from, synthesising again huge richness in highly qualitative evidence. And so I think that full breadth is very important, recognising the dangers of anecdotal evidence, where you take the very compelling story of one person as representative of all people. And we know we have a very diverse population, and we have to be careful. A good
warning to end that session on. Thank you very much to all of our witnesses for this session. We're now switching to the next session. Order.